Monday, September 5th, so happy Labor Day to all of you. And I want to try to do a quick update on where I think we might be in the course of things here, and see if we can get some sense of direction. So what I've got on the screen is a snapshot from the September 18th video from 2021, and I think we're kind of playing along with that base case expectation. All right, if I had to take a guess at where we would be, I would say we're right about in this area here. If you can see my mouse pointer, where we've completed the first two waves, the first ABC, and I believe we're in kind of an ABC corrective pattern before we see a sharp sell-off. That would be the base case scenario. So just an extension of that. The count ended up a bit different. We did get one wave higher than my intended topping point, but we did see the first initial ABC decline. I did not play this rally very hard. I played a little soft. I did not have a good sense that this was going to bottom here. Once we got below the red box, I was awful tentative. But we did stabilize, and I think we have a chance here to maybe bounce in the next week or two, right, and get a corrective rally before falling into late October. Perhaps a rally from October into November. Maybe there's some anticipation of a blue wave, maybe, whatever you want to call it, that could cause this sentiment to see a rally into November that could get close to challenging highs once again. That would be the base case scenario, but we really need to hold pretty much this low, certainly this red box. If we don't hold that, then I would be giving much higher chances that we take a straight path down to 2900 and test these lows that we're expecting down in this area. We were thinking maybe 2024, but middle of 2024, but maybe we end up seeing that much sooner. We'll see how that goes. So that's kind of the base case scenario for now. We've been tracking the high-low indicator a lot, which I call my secret indicator. Basically tracks new highs versus new lows in the NYSE and an assortment of other things that are thrown in there to kind of give it some character. But if just talking about where I think we are, I look at this MACD a lot, and I also look at the shape of the chart. And I believe we're about halfway through this correction, very similar to, let's go to maybe this location here back in 2008, right, where we started to get low, and then we had this, the short-term moving average was able to rip up and then comes back down and gets down into this, the area of this yellow line. Same thing here back in 2015, 2016, right? I believe we've just completed this rip, and now the short-term moving average has to go down and test this line. Same thing we did. It's a larger corrective pattern, right? In 2020, right? The C wave came down and touched that line, and I believe we've finished we're past the midway now, and we still have to have this decline. Whether there's a bit more wiggle to this before it goes down or not. I would say that's probably likely, but I think we still need to get this short-term moving average down into this yellow area before I would have a buy indicator go back on this moving average. One of the things I'm looking at is this formation here. Let me show you that. There looks an awful lot like this on a smaller scale. I'm looking at this, then the pullback, and then that. I'm also looking at back in, make this a little larger. I'm also looking at this structure here, right, back in 2015. And also back in 2008, we had this rally here in the MACD They all look very similar to me. So I'm expecting we get one more rollover in the MACD, which would go along with a C wave. Right? These were all corrective rallies. This is an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. We had an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. We had an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave, or it could be counted as 5 down, depending upon who's doing the counting. So I think that shoe is left to drop. That we're going to get MACD is going to roll over, get down in the area of this green line, and that will give us, either that correction from here in price, and also get my short-term moving average down into the yellow line, which would be my next buying indicator for the long-term trade indicator. And I'm going to say that's probably going to be somewhere around, it's going to be somewhere around this area here. We put a tentative vertical line. Probably somewhere in that time frame is where I would be waiting to buy long-term trades. Somewhere where I might have a reasonable shot at sticking in a trade for 6 months to a year and seeing some set it and forget it positive action. If we're talking about other things, Bitcoin, really wanted to see Bitcoin hold this low here. If it holds this low, it can look like an A, B, C, this being a diagonal with an A wave, perhaps a B wave. With a wave 1, perhaps a wave 3, and then a wave 5. But it's starting to get low enough that it's bringing bigger corrective structures into play now. So Bitcoin is a no-go for me now in this zone. It's got to do something before I will trade it again. So we tried to grab it here. It came back and it got us. We're not, right now we don't touch it. We just let it go, let it move a little bit more, and see if it can fill in some more info on the chart. Otherwise, it's likely that we have already topped in Bitcoin, and that we would be headed back into the 5,000 area, right? Perhaps there would be a corrective rally in here, but 5,000, 4,500 would be the next significant resistance from here. If we don't hold this area, it's likely we're going there. All right, so Bitcoin's no-go for me. And if we're talking about other things, we talked about the dollar a bunch. The dollar is nearing where I would like to see a wave 4. We're already in that area. It's part of the reason I think that we can still see this rally in the S&P 500. Basically, this just chopping around in this area. I think that can coincide with some corrective action in the dollar before we see one final rip higher. So perhaps corrective action in the S&P, corrective action in the dollar, and then a rip higher in the dollar and a rip lower in the S&P after the November or in the November-December time frame. What else we got? Silver's doing some interesting stuff. Silver really should have held in this area, I think, if we were going to see a push higher in silver as a B wave. So it's quite possible that silver's going to follow this red path and really, really hit the shitter and take us back in the, maybe as low as $6. I don't know. Charts are starting to look bearish across everything, according to my eye. So I'm starting to bring larger corrective structures into play on almost all my charts because everything just seems to be degrading and coming apart. What else we got? I started looking at Brent crude instead of the WTI pattern. The WTI, the West Texas Intermediate contract, was blown up last year with the negative price action. So I've started looking a lot at Brent because that contract goes, they've had pricing on it way back into the 1860s. And Brent really looks like it could be 5 up complete. into this area. Maybe nominally higher high, $160 a barrel, perhaps, but it could be done. It could have already seen those highs, right? So I'm more bearish on the energy complex than most people you'll find. So I'm not willing to chase oil higher here, and I'm not willing to chase oil stocks much higher here either. I kind of have this feeling like everything that is necessary for price to have spiked higher has kind of happened. Warring nations, sanctions on oil suppliers. You have breakdowns in shipping routes and shipping patterns. You have fake demand, with never-ending government stimulus, and that was all coming from a time where just before that the world had no problem meeting oil demand before that. So, I don't have a good feeling that there's going to be, if there's really an economic downturn, and on top of that you have Iran come back online, Venezuela get their shit together, and if Europe drops Russian sanctions because of a ridiculous winter season, and it would probably take, for Russia to quit, it would probably take Europe to actually sign contractual purchases, which I wouldn't give them. I wouldn't trust them at all not to do that, the Europeans, that is. And if that kind of stuff happens, then I think you would just see oil get wrecked, absolutely wrecked. So I'm really hesitant on chasing oil higher here at this point in time. Maybe some other people can make some money on that, but I don't know if I want to go with it. That's pretty much it as far as the things that I normally talk about. If we talk about the long-term pattern on the S&P 500, I had expected to see 6,800 to 7,500 for an all-time high, somewhere in the 2030 range, and I still see that as a possibility. This final pattern here could just give us, this could be our 3-4 correction here, and then one more rally up into here. But we don't necessarily need it. I mean, we have the things we need in place. We have a large enough third wave that it's not ridiculous looking, and this could be a fifth wave fifth wave top in place. You could even get a higher high, just nominally higher, and that would be plenty fine for the market to roll over. We don't need to hit this box here as long as it gets to it on the B wave in the ensuing correction. So what that would mean is, instead of what I've drawn, it could be, we could not get higher, correct back to A here, and then smack the red box on the B wave is what we see a lot in corrective patterns in the fourth wave position. So that coincides well with the possibility of the NASDAQ being, just decimated. It doesn't have to do this. Again, I can show you, the alternative is that the NASDAQ has room to be, some kind of an imperceptible three-wave structure. I really think that's 5 down, and then 5 up that finishes here before we see the start of a big correction in the NASDAQ. That would work well with the bullish interpretation on the S&P 500. But the NASDAQ has every right from this point to actually be an ABC pattern to the upside and come back and get, this area of the chart here in the 3,000 area. So if we have a major sell-off is perfectly reasonable on the charts here, if you ask me. So the NASDAQ hasn't done enough yet to get itself out of that position, and they really need to do a lot of work between now and the end of November to arrest this fall here and get it up into this area and stop making it look like it could be an impulsive structure to the downside. If they don't do that, then every chart in town has a reasonable interpretation for how it could go much, much, much lower, much faster. So we're still kind of in that no man's land where we don't really know if we have a whole lot more on the table in front of us as far as downside. But for the moment, the safest play is to treat it as if it will bounce here and get us up into the 4,200 area before falling lower into early October. And if it don't, like I said, if it doesn't catch traction in this area, just stand back and let it go. Don't get in the way. Don't get yourself hurt. It's not worth it. It'll take much more time to rebuild the losses that you could take than just a little bit of a little bit of backing off in this area. Could save you all that heartache and years of downtime. So, just my 2 cents. I'd play it softly. Let it, maybe a soft play for this. I wouldn't be playing with my whole portfolio. Let it show you what it wants to do here, and I wouldn't be jumping the gun at all. So, my 2 cents. Hope you guys enjoy your holiday, and I'll catch up with you in another few months when we're at another potential inflection point. All right, guys. I'll see you.
Holding on to the hand of self-destruction, and I'm back to a place that I left a long time ago. Just give me a sec while I smoke this cigarette. My aching body feels better still. What do you do when you just pick up my guitar and too much on your plate when I need to escape? Everything will be better when I find a way. When people leave, do they ever think about you? What I'd say if I ever came back again? Well, I still wonder and I miss you. I know I'll ask you when I see you again, my friend. What do you do when you get the blues? Just pick up my guitar and too much on your plate when you need to escape. Everything will be better when I find a way. Oh. What do you do when you get the blues? I pick up a guitar and too much on your plate when you need to escape. Every left